911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Wow, how good was that?
Isn't that awesome? I can never not listen to that whole thing. I'm just like,
Kind of
I
get
love
lost in
his
it.
music. He is so amazing. He really, truly is. Hey, everybody. How are you all tonight? A full house, it looks like. I have my good friend, Sleuth from
What's
Sleuth
up? What's up?
Intuition here with us tonight. I know you guys have all been looking forward to this, so I've been
Thanks
promising it for a while.
thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. We should do this more often, actually. I love
think so.
discussing things, talking to you, picking your brain.
Pick away.
So, I thought there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about tonight. One of the things is Fig dropped a new video today. I thought maybe we might watch that and
Sure.
then talk about it. And then I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the interview that happened last night with Susan Hendricks, Cheryl McCullum, and Dan Samanowicz, who also was the producer for Down the Hill podcast.
No, I missed it.
Well, they had a really interesting. Susan Hendricks has a show called Headline Crime, and last night they discussed Delphi. They discussed Idaho. They discussed Rex Heuermann, and in the middle of this, they discussed Delphi. And I thought some of the stuff that Cheryl McCullum brought up as far as crime scene might be interesting to talk about.
Sure. Did you see Rex Heuermann, what his new defense team, what their strategy is?
I have not. What is that?
They just went public recently. It wasn't Rex, it was somebody else that did it, a completely other person.
Oh, of course. Now that's a surprise, right?
Mhm.
That's what defense teams are supposed to say.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have
These
thought
guys must be
that?
crazy.
Exactly. Jeez. How have you been?
I've been great.
Good.
Staying healthy, spending a lot of time with the family, spending more time with my dad,
That's
um,
good.
trying to, I don't know, make something of my YouTube channel, I guess.
You're doing a good job, a really good
Thanks. You
job.
too. You too.
So impressed with you and how far you've come since you started. And
Yeah, thank you.
it's
Me too.
you know, who would have thought
Yeah, who would have thought?
we we'd be where we are today?
Yeah,
I
growth,
wish we
right?
weren't
Growth.
still talking about Delphi, but sadly, but here we are.
I don't I mean, there's just no way to explain. I don't know if it's just that we're looking at this case too closely, so we kinda jump at every little wiggle, but man, it really seems I've only seen a few that are this strange, like, the West Memphis 3 is a good
Mhm.
example. Really, that might be the only one that comes close to it. Um, mm, maybe
Twists and turns
The Peterson, maybe?
could very well be.
Similar to that?
It's yeah, there's so many, I think, there's just so many rabbit holes. I mean, we've talked about that in this case. And I just don't remember a case where there were so many different POIs. And I think one of the reasons is not necessarily from law enforcement's standpoint, it's from social media's standpoint. And I think we have to look at that when we look at some of these newer cases. Um, Social media is just everywhere when it comes to true crime. And people are, I mean, I guess right now, my daughter keeps telling me every once in a while she's on my show, but she keeps telling me TikTok's where it's at. Mom, you need to do TikTok. I'm like, I don't have time for YouTube, let alone trying to.
Yeah, I uploaded a bunch of my old videos to TikTok, and I don't really go there. I don't really have a presence there, but I notice
Yeah,
whenever I search news stories or items on Google, more and more it's taking me over to TikTok.
yeah. TikTok is like everywhere. So
Yep.
yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I mean, I'm a YouTuber for now. I think that's enough
Right?
for me.
That's
Um,
funny. Me too.
it takes a lot, as you well know, it takes a lot of time.
Maybe
And
Twitter. I might get more involved in Twitter as time goes on. It seems to
I'm
be advancing.
I have my presence there. Those are the only 2 platforms that I'm really on. Um, don't really do Facebook, and I don't, not for true crime, and I don't, do Instagram. So, but Twitter is pretty good. There's some interesting folks there. You get some interesting comments. So let's welcome everybody to the live stream. We've got Tech Death, who is teaching, from what I understand. So
What's up, Tech?
he teaches music, so he'll be in and out. And hey, Frank Meister, good to see you. Hi, Jennifer Reynolds. Marbles is here. Um, Heather's Mirror is here. Daily Survivor, Lisa, Angela, Bees 9. Hey, Rescue, how are you?
What's up, Rescue?
Good, good. I'm looking forward to this chat as well. Hey, Marbles, good to see you. Hey, Frank Meister, welcome, my friend. 63 Clocks. Cindy Hudson. Jill, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, CJK, how are you? Hey, Shadowbox. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Metal Mama.
You got a full house.
Yeah. Hi, Nana72. Hey, Purdue. Haven't seen you for a while. It's good to see you. I hope I see you at the walk in April. I hope you're there. Hey, Connie Hill. How are you? Hey, girl. How are you? Welcome. Hi, Lynn. Hey, Wanda. Good to have you. Hi, Ziggy. We have a ton. Hey, Phil. They all came for you.
What's
Hey,
up, crew?
hey, Sparky. Hey, Devoted to Mariah. Good to see you. We've missed you too. Hey, Don. How are you? I saw you on Sleuth today. I watched the replay.
Got your email, Dawn. Very interesting. I'm still looking it over.
Hi, Christine Robbins. And let's see. Hi, Mitzi Scott. How are you? Welcome. Good to see everyone. We should have a really good show. Hey, Sharon. Hi, Olivia, too. Hey, Jinx. Yep. Hey, Gail. How are you? Good to see you. I think you gifted a membership already, so thank you so very much. I appreciate that, and I know that whoever got it will appreciate it as well. Hey, Justice Angel. As always, everybody remember to be nice to people in the chat. I know my moderators will take care of that for me. Hi, Timmy Waring, TLS. Hey, Deb, how are you? Good to see you.
What's up, Deb?
Hey, Joe Newman. Always good to have you in the house. So good to see everybody. So yeah, that's what I thought we would talk about. Now, Sleuth did a live stream this afternoon. For those of you that didn't get to see it, please make sure you go watch the whole thing because it's really good. But I thought we would also talk tonight about just kind of carry on the conversation because it was so interesting with the pictures that you were showing, not only of Bridge Guide, but also of the items that were in the water that are supposedly leaked photos of the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we could talk about that as well. And anything else that you feel you'd like to share. There's plenty going on out there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and there's still a lot of the old information that we don't quite understand fully.
Right.
But I believe that this is her jacket right there.
So this is the jacket that Abby was wearing on the bridge?
I believe so. I could be wrong, but I mean, that's what I'm seeing here. And I can show you.
Did you see the dark that I was talking about in that picture? Right up here.
At the top. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, you're fine. Right
here.
here.
This is a guy. This is the guy who took the photo.
Yeah, not that. Right here. See, can you see my cursor or not?
No, I can't.
Okay. So look right next to the jacket. Do you see that black?
Oh, this right here?
Laying there? Other side. The other side. Right there. Yeah. What is that?
I don't know. That looks like the shadow.
Okay.
That's what's telling us that this is a big bulge here.
Okay.
That's giving us an idea of what the shape is. And that's also why the light from his camera flash or the sun or whatever is so bright right here.
Right, because it wasn't a white jacket, right? It was more tan.
It was more like this color.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Sorry, I don't know why my computer keeps doing that. It's been acting all funny. So this is my jacket. I took this just before the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of what I'm seeing.
That looks so similar to that picture. That's like so amazing to me. Because when you,
it's not going to let me show them together, but I mean, it looks like it, right?
Yeah. No, it certainly does. Most definitely. And it's for sure. They say that these are leaked photos, and I mean, do you feel they're real? Because I believe that that's Libby's shirt.
I believe it's been confirmed that they are real.
Okay, because that's looks to me like that's what Libby was wearing that day. She was wearing a tie-dyed shirt.
I mean, I found it on the RTV6 footage. If you want me to show that to you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure because I know how people are. They talk and they're like, are these real or not real? And that's true.
This is right by the crime scene, on the side of the crime scene, not far from the bank.
Okay. So the girls are about 50 feet from there.
Yep, right. They're right over a hill. This guy right here is probably standing maybe a foot in the water, if not on land.
Do you remember the picture of the guy, the bigger gentleman that was standing on the edge of the creek that day? He was a police officer, but I don't know.
Tony. It was Tony.
Was it Tony?
Mhm.
I was wondering if that's who this is, because
This could be, yeah.
he looks to be a broad guy to
Could be
me,
Tony. I thought it could be Tony as well.
but
And he does have a cell phone. You can kind of see his fingers right here.
mm-hmm,
Like he's holding it like that.
yep, taking a picture of that.
There
Now,
was some reporters out there too pretty early that could have taken these.
right.
Kind of was wearing a jacket like this too that kind of sprawls out at the bottom, a red one.
Do you think that shoe is her second shoe and the first shoe's on the other side of the creek?
Well, my theory is that they were forced to disrobe and then decided to run away.
Okay.
Let's get out of here. And they have the clothing in hand. And I think that's why a lot of it's balled up. And I think Libby even had her phone in her shoe. That was the most important thing. So during a struggle here, Abby's already up over the embankment yelling, like, leave her alone, stop what you're doing. And a fight ensues because she's the target. And that's why we've always heard from Kelsey and everybody that Abby never left her side, that she could have gotten away because she waited around. She waited and she was trying to help. And then I believe Libby got away and dropped all these things there at that point. I think that's how all this stuff got there.
Good theory.
Yeah, and then she made it up over, and then they found her is where he attacked her and where she touched the tree and fell and everything.
So you think she did make it out of the water? He didn't have to drag her?
No, I don't think he could have. I think she put up a fight. She outweighed him, I think, by at least 15, 20 pounds. And he was wearing his shoes. If she's not wearing her shoes, she's at an advantage there because it's not as slippery on those rocks. You know, I spent a lot of time in rivers and lakes, you know, and that's just the way it is. You slip around when that rubber.
Yeah.
You're out on your back.
Those creek beds are extremely treacherous because of the algae on the rocks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
That grows on them. So
he's slipping around, I think. He's like, and Abby's up on top saying, hurry up, let's go. She finally makes it over, and that's when he attacks Abby right there. And then he just simply moved her to where Libby was. Then he's hearing Derek, Libby, Abby, and then also people on the bridge laughing, making noise. And that's when he's like, oh man, I got to get out of here. I got to hide him, move him, and then I got to bolt.
Do you think there's credence to the fact that he saw somebody coming home?
You mean the whole muddy and bloody thing? No,
the somebody coming home to the Weber's house.
It's possible. I think he did come home around 4, but so he gets off at 4, so that means he wouldn't be home till 4:30. Bridge guy was seen at 3:57, so I don't know. Maybe he got off early, but I think we know that Derek was out there yelling.
Yep.
And we know that there was somebody on the south end of the bridge with photographic and time-stamped evidence of, I think it was 3:52. And it only takes 6 minutes to walk from the crime scene up out of that cemetery. Randy proved that.
Yeah. It depends on your level of fitness because it's pretty steep.
Yeah.
But I will say that I believe that he came out that way. I think in my mind that he definitely was seen walking down. I definitely believe that's him that was seen walking down 300 back towards the CPS building. But
who else would it be? You think somebody else would come forward, you know, like that was me, guys.
Exactly. So that's the thing that has always got me about Bridge Guy himself. You know, they originally said that he was a person of interest, just somebody they needed to talk to, because they knew he was out there that day when they found her cell phone. They didn't call him a suspect in the beginning. It wasn't
I think
until
it's a ploy, I think, like he's a suspect, but they want to try to see if they can trick him to come in. So they say
and
that
right.
publicly.
And it was like, yeah, because once they got her phone, they knew right away what they had. But I just, I mean, I think in my mind that I really do believe that he went to see Dan Doolin because he knew he was seen that day.
Very smart of him to do that.
Yeah. I
Did you
think
see that
people,
photo of his daughter laying in the living room on Kathy's Facebook? There's a Mensa book right on the shelf of the end table there.
I've seen that picture.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's smart or if he thinks he's smart.
Either or, but I mean, he was smart enough to evade police for 7 years almost.
That shows a level of sophistication. That's very proactive of him. What he did was he played chess in his mind to make that decision. He said, okay, if I don't do this and I don't do that, this will happen. And then this will be the chain of events that takes place. But if I do this, it'll buy me time. And I think that's the same reason why he covered them. He played it out in his mind, and that's what he was doing out there. He's like, well, what can I do? He's like, well, what I can do is I can buy myself 24 hours. I'll do this, and that, cover them, and then get out of here. And then I can come up with a new plan.
Right. I definitely think he thought, as maybe my goose is cooked because I was seen. But what got me was about him, and what really makes me think that he is a true psychopath, is because even knowing that the girls saw him, the 3 girls at the Freedom Bridge, he went ahead with his plan. He didn't care that he had been seen, if you know what I mean, until afterwards, maybe. Maybe he thought, oh, I should be proactive. Was it that, or was it the fact that he saw himself when they put out the photo on the bridge and said, crap, they have me. I need to go in. I mean, it could be one or the other, but I don't know. I
No,
think,
he came in way before they had that photo.
see, that's what I thought. I thought,
and
he
I
was
also
like,
think, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, did he come in on the 15th? Do
I
you
think he
know the
came
date
in.
for sure?
Yeah, I think he came in early on the 15th. That's the only way that Doolin didn't make the connection. That's the only answer, is that it was either early on the 15th or late midday on the 14th. Because if he came forward and Doolin had this photo of the bridge guy,
Right.
he's going to look right at Rick and say, you got to come in, bro. But that's not what happened. Rick probably came looking all innocent, all dressed up in a Bill Cosby sweater, maybe even with his daughter or something, just looking all nonchalant, not looking like this guy, because I believe Richard Allen was wearing what I would like to call a Delphi everybody costume. Bridge guy looks
Right.
like everybody.
Right.
I believe that's the point. He
Right.
didn't dress like that. He wore like Adidas jumpsuits and stuff. He only wore that blue jacket in a few of those images, but as far as the boots and these grimy jeans, I don't know if that's what he wears normally, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is either. I mean, just from the photographs that I had seen of him, doesn't tell me that that is a normal attire for him.
It could be. I could be wrong.
Deb says, I actually have the same theory that Sleuth has about the clothes. I think the girls ran and dropped part of their clothes in the water when they were trying to get away. And that so makes sense.
And that's why he did what he did to Libby, and he turned around and he's getting ready to do the same thing to Abby, but he realizes that he doesn't have any more fight. He's made too much noise, and he's got to get out of there. That's why she was fully dressed, and he made the decision just to silence her. He may have attempted something. and then said, oh, heck with this. I don't have enough time to fool with this. And then he made the decision that there's no witnesses.
Sure. Thank you, Rescue. Thank you for being exactly 0% of the drama train. Love your nail. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your
Thanks, Rescue.
super chat. And as we're doing it, Mother of Dragons, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. The whole thing with Dan Doolin, he's really been thrown under the bus in so many different fashions throughout all of this as being incompetent and all these other things. But you know what? It got me. If you look at his notes from that day, which we have in the affidavit, they're there. So we know that that's what was written. He was more concerned about the three girls because he made the comment, the note, that they needed to do further investigation of these three girls.
I think they did. I think there is a good chance that they were on to Richard Allen. And this whole weird pressure campaign of the bridge guy was, hey, we just need you guys to do the right thing. We need one person to come forward and say, that's Richard Allen, that guy. And they're like, okay, good, because Richard Allen is our number one suspect right now. Nobody is helping us out. And they had no forward movement. They had nothing until somebody came forward, and then all this weird stuff with Keegan Kline and all these people catfishing him, and that shook something loose. So as disgusting as it might seem from the outside, I believe whatever that was, it tricked Keegan Kline and he said something. I don't know what it was, but it definitely appears to have something to do with Richard Allen. Mm-hmm. And that might even have something to do with the motive. Like, what were you doing out there? What would drive you to do this to these two young girls? Money is a good motivator. We know he had a funeral to pay for and a wedding to pay for.
Right.
Was he catfished? Was he convinced, I'll give you 10 grand? Was he given 10 grand to do something like this?
Well, you brought up today in your live, and I've always felt this way about Keegan, was what the whole stuff that went on in Vegas really bothers me. Always has been a red flag for me. It just, what he was searching on his phone, how long does DNA,
Sandy Hook is the stuff that really bothered me.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But there was just some really weird stuff that
burner phones too. Burner phones out there.
Burner phones. And, we found
talk of meeting folks too. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, the burner phone. I found this phone in a rental car. Really? Come on.
And to blame your own father. Like, I don't think Tony had anything to do with anything. So for Keegan to do that, I'm starting to think he was a lot more hands-on in this. And the reason we're not hearing anything from RA or him is because they're both equal in this. They're praying that the other will not rat the other one out.
It'll be really interesting to see if that is what's going to blow us away.
Yeah,
because I really agree with you. I think there's something that we don't know yet. And
why did they target them? Why were they targeting them? He was obviously out there for a reason, targeting them. And we know he's been there. Either he's a lone wolf, which he most likely is, guys. This single person that did this for a reason, but it's just hard to grasp why he's motivated to do it. But he's probably been down there to the crime scene thinking, man, and while he's down there, he's looking over at the Monon High Bridge and he's watching young girls walk by. And in his mind, he's thinking, man, I could just come behind, force them down over the creek and right here to my favorite spot. And one day he did it.
For sure, because a lot of these guys live in this fantasy world, and they're fantasy driven.
Oh yeah.
It's all about power. It's all about control. And everybody's like, well, maybe it was sexual assault. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual assault. The actual act of the violence that he inflicted upon them could have been his sexual motivation. That could be what turned him on.
Along with that trophy. That's all he needs to relive
And
that.
that's what's hard for all of us who are normal people to grasp and to get our heads wrapped around, and quite frankly, I'm kinda glad I can't get my head wrapped around that, because I don't know
Yeah.
that I wanna ever understand why someone
I
could
go in
do.
there. I'll go in there, and it's scary in there. It is
Mhm.
really scary.
So dark,
It's
just
very
very
dark.
dark.
To try to understand why he would do that, I
Mhm.
mean, I think, the only people who can
Especially
explain
being a
that is another
father.
sick person.
Mhm.
Well, who knows what he did with his children, you know?
Mhm.
God forbid.
I mean, it's like I always go back with when I talk about him and this whole thing, I always go back to BTK, because
Yeah.
people are like, "It can't be Rick Allen. He was just this guy, this nobody that worked at CVS who really doesn't have a record. He's never been in trouble, blah, 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 blah." And I'm just like, "BTK? He was killing people for decades."
And he was a
And
coward too. He, like, wasn't some tough, scary guy, like, he got
no,
his
and
ass kicked one time.
he was the president of his church. I
He
mean,
was
this
a
guy,
coward.
yeah, I mean, and he was a father, and, when you listen to his daughter, talk about him, she had no idea that her father was this way. He was scary. There were times when that side of him would show in the house, but they all learned how to, survive that and live with it, and I'm wondering what his family really knew about Richard Allen, because have you often thought we don't know much about him?
Mm.
You know? Here we are, how many almost a year and a half into his incarceration, and we don't have friends coming out, saying, "There's no way, he was my golfing buddy. There's absolutely no way this guy could do this, he was my best friend." We don't have
Yeah,
anybody.
no best friends, just like, "Oh, well, he used to be my neighbor, and I would have sent my
Mhm,
kids over there if we had any
mhm.
problems," stuff like that, but nobody coming forward saying, "I'll risk my entire reputation on this fact."
Yep.
Not only that, he doesn't even have an alibi.
No, no, no. His
In
alibi
Fig's
is that he
video
was
in Fig's
there.
video, what about that? How do you
Yeah,
explain that?
yeah, no, exactly. Cindy Hudson asked, "Kristen and Sleuth, can you clarify what side of the creek the clothes were found on? The side they lost their lives on, or the side of the bridge?"
The north side, the side
It
of the mirrors where you would enter the bridge. So the
Yeah, where
side
their bodies were
yes.
found.
Yeah, where they were found, it's right just off the shoreline there. Here,
Hey, Frank Meister, thank you
I might
so
have a
much for
better
your
photo
membership.
for you guys.
You do?
Yeah, here,
Cool.
let me see if this will help.
Mariah says that Dan Doolin is part of the human error.
Yeah, it's that variable, and that's probably what could have happened as well, because we know Paul Holes was out there in Delphi right around that time too.
Mhm.
And, Barb McDonald, when she tells her story about everything, she tends to think that he's the one that said, "Hey, you guys need to go back to the beginning and look at all of your old stuff, no matter what it is." And as soon as he left, sure enough, they're looking in the Wabash River and they're arresting, Richard Allen. So I don't know if it all ties together or not.
In May of 2022, when Paul Holes came to Delphi and was taking photos on the bridge, I follow him on Instagram. I have some of his books. I think he's
Twitter.
just been
He's great.
phenomenal. Well, anyway, he posted on Instagram, and I showed this on a couple of my live streams. He posted a photograph of a guy in an orange jumpsuit in jail, just standing in jail. And he said, "Someone is going to find themselves in this position very soon." And
Nice.
it was like 6 weeks later that Richard Allen was arrested.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they were watching him, they had him, they just didn't how are you gonna search somebody what are you gonna say? "Oh, this guy was out on the trail, so now you get to search his home?" It's not
Right.
how it works. You need
Mm-mm.
more, especially if he's telling us, "Yeah, I was out there. That's all I did was hike." You can't serve a search warrant on all these people, you need something specific.
Right. Well, they had the bullets, so they they asked him point blank, "Do you have a gun?"
Yeah.
And
What
if
kind of
so,
gun?
"What kind of gun do you have?" And he
Yep.
told them.
And
So
also,
bingo.
right before they served a search warrant, another thing that was strange is out on social media, people started talking about the 40 caliber bullet. It's kind of like the cat was out of the bag.
Mhm. Interesting
May-
that you bring up cats. I think
yeah, what's
cats
going on with that?
I
That cat
think
got out of the bag too.
I think cats might sink him. I
Um,
do. I really do. You
hair and
remember.
unknown fiber.
Hmm?
Hair and unknown fiber. They
Mhm.
didn't say human hair. They just said hair.
Right. And I have cats, so I know how they shed, and cats cat hair is everywhere.
I'm covered in cat hair right now.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's a given. And my cat is a short-haired cat, but he's still it's everywhere. So, was that what they were digging up in the backyard? I've often wondered, were they digging up his cat? I hate to think that, but I mean, it's like that's
Makes
probably
sense. The neighbor
it
said they
does make
dug like
sense.
3 small holes and they weren't there very long.
Mm-mm.
And he said they were waving something over the ground that looked like a metal detector. Well, they have equipment like that for cadavers too.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, maybe they were, also looking to see if he had buried souvenirs or buried, you
Fire
know
pits right there.
anything. I still have a problem with the bullet that was found in his, keepsake box on his dresser. I mean,
I
nobody
don't
talks about that much.
well, for me, there's stuff like that laying around all over. Like if you go in my garage, I have a little box that I've always had. I'm pretty sure there's a 9 millimeter shell in there too.
I
There's a
just
box of
wondered.
shotgun shells up in my downstairs, and I don't even have a shotgun. It's just there. So I don't know. I don't think too much about that part of it all.
I put up your picture.
Yeah, so this is the RTV6 footage, and this is where the items were. So you can
Okay.
kind of see where they are, and the girls were found just right up over here, right up over the hill.
Okay. Makes sense.
So this is probably one of the guys who took the photo, maybe.
Yeah. Deb says that she always felt that they started to undress on the private drive and something happened that gave them the opportunity to take off and run.
Yep, pick up the clothes and run. Let's get out of here.
Georgia says he was there from 12 to 1:30. The car they have on video is at 1:27. Don't know how they explain he was walking past Freedom Bridge at 1:29 like then they say. No other video of car again. He wasn't there from 12 to 1:30.
Apparently that's what the defense is saying.
Yeah, that's what the defense is saying. That's not what he told Dan Doolin, and that's not what the law enforcement says.
Yeah, this is what they're trying to say. They asked him, "Were you there between 1:30 and 3:30?" And he said, "Well, yeah,
Yeah.
1:32, and then I left. Like I was 2 minutes within that window of time." But that's bullshit. He wouldn't say that.
No, he would not. No.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I totally agree. Hold on a second here. Hey, thanks, Frank Meister. I appreciate it very much.
What's up,
Thank
Frank?
you. B says, sometimes I think they knew it was RA earlier on too because they kept saying, someone knows who this is, come forward.
Yep.
I think they needed more.
They needed more. Remember, Ives? I don't even think they told Ives what was going on, really. They're like, man, I don't want to say anything. Like, we can't say anything. This guy is right here, right under our nose.
Because, how many times did Doug Carter tell us, over the years, it's not what you know, it's what we can prove.
That's true with any case.
And so they may have known a lot, but they couldn't prove what they needed to prove. So what was it do you think that they got that made him say, aha, we can arrest him? They found something at his
What
house.
was new? What was new? That what do you if you look at the whole picture, what was new in Richard Allen's life? There was something new that just popped up into his life and changed everything for him.
Well, he lost his brother-in-law.
That too, but also he's getting a new son-in-law.
Right.
So maybe the son-in-law is now making his new wife a much stronger person. And she has the strength to come forward with information.
Yeah, and maybe he just looked at him and said, because he's an outsider, you can look at it that way too. He's outside the family dynamic. So when he's looking in, maybe he sees things that just don't add up.
Good
Maybe,
point.
and maybe he looks at him and then for whatever reason, he sees the video again. I mean, everybody around there was constantly seeing it. And Bridge Guy's face is all over that town. If you go into the town, his posters and pictures are everywhere, even on buildings that are closed.
What if he said this to his wife? Do you ever look at your dad and say, "Man, is that the bridge guy?" Just kind of joking, like, "Do you ever think that?" And then
Exactly.
she just starts crying. She just breaks down. Boom. And tells him
Yeah.
everything.
CJK says last year on someone's chat, a lady stated she lives next to one of the investigators, won't name, and that she heard from him that Alan was on their radar early on. True, I don't know. I found it interesting. I'm going back to all the tentacles that Doug Carter talks about. He said that for a reason, and I think that there might be more to it than what we
Makes me think of
know.
Vegas and online, the whole online connection, because
Yep.
when you're online, everything kind of connects like tentacles,
Yes. Yeah. And I've been over those press conferences and those interviews so many times it makes my head spin. I have 19 notebooks that are this thick on Delphi that I just handwrite notes. I have
And
19 of them full.
the
It's like
2019 presser was seems like it was directed at him, right?
mhm.
He could be in this room and the presser is less than a mile from his home. Like he could have walked to the presser. They made
Yep.
everybody sign in to this presser.
Mhm.
There's that photo I have of what appears to be Richard Allen at the 2018 presser. So it makes sense that at the 2019 presser, if they believe their suspect is here, maybe they're having people sign in because they want to see his signature on that book.
Cheryl McCullum, the crime scene investigator. If people aren't familiar, she has a podcast called Zone 7. She has 45 years of crime scene investigation experience. She's world renowned in her field. She's worked a lot of high profile cases. She said they were all looking at that press conference, the 2019, everybody was looking around the room trying to figure out who he was talking about. And after he was arrested, they all went back to the footage to try to see if he was there or if they could, make
I
him
did.
out or whatever. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that he would revisit the crime scene over and over again because these types of offenders do that. They insert themselves into investigations. They want to know what's going on, and they live vicariously through reenacting it by having everyone talk about it.
The trophy tells me that too, that's kind of what they're all about.
Yes. Yep. And so none of that would surprise me about him at all. That's why we're going to get to it here in a minute. I want to play. Are you okay if I play Fig's?
Yeah, I think it
live
goes
clip?
well with what we're talking about. Kind
Yeah.
of also how the friend kind of ignored the fact that he knew he was the bridge guy and how Richard Allen was able to do like a mind trick on him, so to speak.
Yeah.
That just shows he's a master manipulator, just like Keegan Kline is.
Exactly. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and play this, and we're going to watch Fig's video for everybody. It's only 10 minutes long, so wrong screen. Hold on a second, guys. Wrong screen. See, I'm not always the best when it comes to picking this stuff either. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go.
They have released him, and he is not a suspect. Who is the he that Rick Allen's pool buddy is referring to here? And how did he get that information?
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News Nightbeat starts now.
Take a good look at this man. He is the person police are looking to get information from in the murder of 2 teenage girls in Delphi. Right now, police are not saying he's a suspect or even a person of interest, but they do want to talk with him.
They say he was on the same trail around the same time as Libby German and Abby Williams. Police are hoping this man has any information that could lead to an arrest. But tonight, the community is still in shock.
Police say that they need your help. They're hoping that if someone recognizes that photo, they will call into police because this could be a major development in the case. Call in even if you want to remain anonymous. Here's the image police want the public to see. Not calling him a person of interest, but someone police want to talk to because he was on the same trail as the murdered teenagers at about the same time. Look like anybody that you've seen in the area living close to the trail?
No.
Same question police have been asking. We saw them up and down country roads near the historic bridge and trail the 2 13-year-olds were walking around the time they were murdered Monday afternoon.
Just wanting to know if you'd seen any strange people, you know? Maybe that's where I seen it.
Police not only want to find out who this man is and whether he was seen near the girls Monday afternoon, police also want to talk to anybody who parked in the High Bridge Trailhead parking lot between 1 and 5 p.m. Monday. It's critical they call police.
The following account is my understanding of some early events surrounding the Delphi murders case. And if there are pieces I'm missing or have misconstrued, I'm open to correction. Now, before releasing my Unfound Dead video in June of 2023, I reached out to DH to get clarification on who he was referring to in these comments, and I never heard back. And to be clear, I do not think that DH was involved in the Delphi murders in any way, shape, or form. I'm just wondering if he got manipulated by one of his friends, a certain friend who has been arrested for the murders of Libby and Abby. On February 15th, 2017,
I just want to stop this just for a second. I want to go back here, and I want everybody to look at this video that he's showing, the video clip of Richard Allen playing pool. I want everybody to really concentrate on that video clip of him and look how young he looks.
Same day.
How in shape he is. Look at that. This was just a couple of months before the crime.
December.
Right. So this was in December of 2016. And this is what he looked like. Not what he looked like when he got arrested.
paper form. I'm just wondering if he got manipulated by one of his friends, a certain friend who has been arrested for the murders of Libby and Abby. On February 15th, 2017, the ISP released a picture of the man on the bridge at 7 p.m. The photo was released in the form of online articles and news broadcasts to get the word out to the public. Channel 6 News was one of the outlets that posted the picture of Bridge Guy on February 15th. The photo was released at 7 p.m., and at roughly 10:12 p.m. on February 15th, not long after the Bridge Guy photo was posted, one of Rick Allen's pool buddies replied to Channel 6's post with this: "He went to the police, they have released him, and he is not a suspect." Then 2 minutes later, he left a second comment. Channel 6, "You need to let everybody know they have talked to this man and released him. WTHR update a while ago." Someone took a shot of DH's comments and posted this 35 minutes later. They probably thought it was strange too. Here's a timestamp and the proof of when this happened. Bam. Now, there's no evidence that WTHR ever posted anything about a suspect speaking to police and being released. It's not true. I mean, I've never heard anyone mention this except DH. And if there's something you know that I don't, please let me know in the comments. I just find it strange that a photo came out at 7 p.m. and at 10:12 p.m., We have DH saying that WTHR updated this a while ago. I wouldn't consider 3 hours a while ago. It's almost like he was playing pool with his buddies. They were at the bar, maybe watching TV, and one of them told DH, hey, that's wrong. You should let Channel 6 know that they have talked to this man and released him. I know this because I heard it on WTHR. I mean, where else would he get that information from other than one of his buddies? He didn't get it from the news. I mean, DH only had this 3-hour window of time to get this information. So where did he get it? And I know he didn't get it from the news because here's what they said that day. They said the exact opposite on February 15th.
We have nobody in custody at this time. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, there is somebody out there that did this horrendous crime.
That's police today confirming the worst news. 13-year-old Libby German and Abby Williams were found murdered. That news breaking less than 48 hours after the girls disappeared.
Tonight, police are trying to ensure the area and the community that they are safe there, but that they need to pay extra attention to who is around them. This after the bodies of the 2 young girls were found not far from a popular hiking trail that's just east of Delphi. Our David McAnally is there live with where the investigation goes now. David?
Anne Marie, while police did confirm that the bodies that were found were those of the missing girls, they've not yet said how the girls were killed. They have not said whether the girls were killed in the same way. They say that's part of the investigation. They're holding that back right now. Police did say, though, that the girls were found about 50 feet off the edge of Deer Creek, and that is a bit of a ways off of the public trail that the girls had been left off to explore. As you said, with no arrests made yet, the sheriff said he is leaving it up to citizens to judge whether they should be concerned about walking on that public trail.
Now, I'm not sure if Rick Allen was actually with DH between 7 p.m. and 10:12 or not, but I do know Rick and DH were pool buddies and were friends. And I also don't know for certain that Rick Allen went to the police before the bridge guy photo was released. I mean, it is possible that he told DH something like this. Hey, man, I know that they've already talked to this guy and they released him. And then Rick had to think in his head, well, shit, I'm screwed now that I saw the picture. I guess I better get ahead of this situation and find a conservation officer to talk to ASAP. I don't know. I just find it pretty crazy that a buddy of the person who actually was on the bridge that day, who did talk to the police early in the investigation, posts something like this. If he wasn't talking about Rick, then who could he possibly be talking about? It wasn't James Lucas, because police didn't talk to James Lucas until February 16th, the day after DH posted this.
First look tonight at the remote area of the 2 murdered Delphi teenage girls.
And all of this as police are still trying to figure out who this man is and what he knows. This man was photographed on the very same trail where the girls went missing. Now, the area where police found Libby German and Abby Williams is heavily wooded. Our Rich Van Wyk spoke with the property's owner today. Rich joins us live from Delphi with the very latest on the search for whoever did this. Rich.
Andrea, the first thing you notice about the area surrounding the crime scene is the terrain. It's steep. It's tough to walk. Police were here for days gathering evidence and clues to the girl's killer. We got our first look at the crime scene today. We're also taking a closer look as to why police want to speak to this one man in particular.
Since releasing these pictures, investigators have been inundated with tips. At the state police post this morning,
4 people walked in and said, gave us names of people they think that person might be.
state police believe he is the only person they haven't identified who was in the area Monday afternoon when the girls disappeared.
We want to know what he saw, what he might have seen on the trail. Did he see somebody else that maybe some of the others didn't see?
It kind of surprised me.
James Lucas got a call from police this morning.
It was scary. I never expected it.
Lucas doesn't think he looks anything like the man on the bridge, but says he was among the hundreds of volunteers who searched for the girls.
They went through my phone and looked at, my phone. I don't know what all they did with it, but they looked at my phone.
The photos were taken on the same bridge Libby posted a picture of Abby Monday afternoon. If you look very closely through the trees, you can see the Monon High Bridge. That's important. That is the last known whereabouts of the 2 girls. Whether they knew that person or not, it is someone investigators want to talk to.
Police aren't saying who took that picture of the unidentified man on the bridge. I am told they are confident that they can find the killer and resolve this case sooner than later. Andrea?
That is all of our prayers. Rich Van Wyk reporting live tonight in Delphi. Thank you.
And it wasn't Gabe Ellis because he was arrested on the 15th and he wasn't released. So let me recap. Here's what we do know, and you could fill in the blanks if you'd like. 7 p.m. on February 15th, 2017, the bridge guy photo was released. At 10:12 p.m. on February 15th, DH posted that the man in the photo went to the police and he's not a suspect. We know that Rick Allen contacted the police early in the investigation and wasn't arrested until years later. And we know James Lucas didn't talk to the police until February 16th, 2017. So it wasn't him. And again, to be clear, I do not think DH had anything to do with this. I think he may have been given information by someone he trusted and he believed them and simply passed that information along on Facebook. And I can't 100% prove that he was referring to Rick Allen in these statements, but it seems to make some sense. Let me know what you think. Thank you.
And welcome back to the news at 11 here on RTV6. We are live in Delphi, Indiana, and we want to give you a shot of that picture once again from police. This is the man they are looking for right now. They say he was out on the trails here on Monday around the same time that two teens, Abby Williams, age 13, and Libby German, age 14, were killed out here. They would like to talk to more about that crime. We made it easy for you to share that right now on our social media streams. Much more on Good Morning Indiana with that as well. And a final quick note, the TNT Pizza King, a sign of community pride here. They donated all the pizzas to those search crews, selling pizzas tonight, raising proceeds for the family, a sign of how tight-knit this community is in the wake of this tragedy. For now, though, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
What a nice thing to do. Thank you, Jason.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Fig just hits it out of the ballpark. I mean, he really is on fire. His last couple of videos have just been amazing. But this one, I did tell him after it posted, he sent it to me before he dropped it as a sneak preview. And I said to him, have you thought that DH that was posting all of that stuff was Richard Allen? He had not. And he was like, whoa, I hadn't thought of that. And I was like, Sleuth, you were active 2 years ago back on social media when we were being trolled like crazy by people. We didn't know who they were. It's very possible that he posted as a friend or as somebody that knew him to say
Yeah, I
those
had a
things.
real creep trolling me. Not quite sure. It could have been Richard Allen. I doubt it, but it really could have been. This person said, how do you think, what did he say? It gave me chills. What do you think the girl said to me once I told him, when we cross this creek, you're going to undress? And this is way before Richard Allen. He's like,
Wow.
what do you think they said to me when I told him that? I was like, what the hell?
Who are you?
Yeah, and we went on, and it went on, and he was acting like he was the bridge guy the entire conversation. It's creepy.
Very creepy. Like I said, I do believe in my mind that he trolled us as far as he was keeping up with what was being said on social media about him. I think he was in the Reddits. I think he was in the Facebook groups watching to
The
see
Odin
what
theory
was
kind of
going
fits with
on.
all that crap. So he could have put that together based on all the stuff that was going on with social media, the ritual talk.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And I know that Frank and I have had that conversation. Frank believes that he's the one who told his attorneys about Odinism. And if that's true, if they heard that from him, then that's telling to me. Because like I said, I do believe people like this, and again, Richard Allen's innocent until proven guilty. I want to put that out there. But if he is bridge guy and he did this horrible
He
crime,
could be.
These guys like this control, and they like to have this kind of effect on people.
It's gaslighting.
Fear, and the fear. I think he got off on the fear that he inflicted upon those girls that day. I don't think
The adrenaline.
people stop and think about what that had to have been like for them. I don't think we can ever understand it. But to just stop and think of the terror.
Yeah,
that
the
they
fear
were
they
going
must have felt.
when they knew what was about to happen to them.
Yeah, it went from who's this creepy guy to these are our last moments on Earth.
Exactly. This is it. We're not
The
gonna. We're
things
not
the
getting out of
things
this.
that they came to term with at that very moment, the growth, their entire life flashing in front of them while he's sucking all the energy from it all in some kind of demonic way. I mean, the evil that we're up against in this world, we let it fly over our head. We're afraid to look it right in the eye. And I think a lot of times we need to, as scary as it is, remind ourselves to do that from time to time so that you don't become complacent and you don't let these tragedies happen to your family and your friends.
Yeah, because it's everywhere and they're everywhere and they are our neighbors. They go to church with us. They, they go to our kids' soccer games and they lead normal lives. Ted Bundy was leading a normal life. You stop and think about what these predators are capable of doing in the darkness and how they completely fly under the radar. And everybody's like, well, that's impossible, but it's not. Richard Allen proves that in a very small community. Delphi's so tiny until you actually walk into that town. I knew it because I'm from small town USA in the Midwest, and I grew up in towns just like it. So that didn't surprise me, but I know a lot of people can't wrap their head around a community that's that small, that's less than 3,000 people.
As far as him not being seen or identified?
Yes.
Yeah, he was wearing a disguise for sure. So I give everybody else a pass, but his family, I think all this weird stuff coming out of the investigation from Doug Carter was directed right at them. All they needed was them to say, that is my husband, or that's my father, that's my neighbor, because then the girls will say, well, the guy that we saw walking by, and they already know that Richard Allen saw those three girls. So they're like, this is our guy here. Now, if we can get somebody to say that's him on the bridge, we're good to go.
And you've heard Tobe say it. I don't know how many times I heard Tobe say it.
Who is that?
I've heard that voice before.
Who is that?
I've heard that voice. I know. I've heard that voice. I just can't place where. Well, Tobe, you were picking up your prescriptions from him.
Yeah, you got your Gatorades in the morning from him, bud.
But
Richard Allen,
I
think we're acting like we know who this person is.
Right.
We see this monster of a crime and we need a monster of a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
But he is a monster. That this is part of his evil power, is keeping that a secret from everybody.
Right. And that was the thing that Cheryl McCullum and Susan Hendricks talk about on their show from last night, is they talk about how these guys live in, they compartmentalize their lives and they work diligently to keep that secret from everyone.
Camouflage.
They don't want people to know.
And that's why they don't act crazy when they're wearing their family like camouflage.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see a soldier destroy his gear, right? His camouflage. He's going to keep it nice and pristine so that he can continue to hide while he creates his mayhem. So he's going to probably do his best not to freak out and, especially the serial killer types. But somebody like a Richard Allen, I think he may have done something. He may not have held on to the whole family structure. I don't think his intention was to wear his family like a camouflage and be a serial killer. I just think that he was under his wife's wing and he had those fantasies, and there was a recipe. Whatever happened to him in 2006 fed into whatever led him to do what he did. Not sure what that is yet.
Yes, Shadowbox. It's called Headline Crime. You can watch it on YouTube. Let me drop it right now. Hold on. And I'll drop it in the chat. And I do want to play a portion of it. So hold on a second, because it's really good. Their conversation until they got to Barbara McDonald, and then I kind of got a little upset with them. But other than that, I was like, Okay,
Yeah, they're
guys.
convinced. They are convinced.
Well, it's funny because it's like they're her friend. They're her friends. They worked with her for years and
Yep.
stuff. So, they're not going to throw her under the bus on television.
Professional courtesy.
Mm-hmm. But somebody has to speak out against it, It's like, hold on. The key to solving. There we go. Here we go, guys. Oops.
In a very long time, which is the Monon High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana. What was that like for you?
Well, here's the way I did it, Dan. I got in the car and I had my sister Charlene with me and Kelsey and her husband. And I said, do not tell me how to get there. I want to see if I can find it, because everybody kept saying it's a transient, it's a truck driver. And I thought, there ain't no way. There's just no way. So I get there. There's no real signage. So I'm driving and the town is just adorable. Like when you hit that main drag, as y'all know, I mean, the fire station, the church.
It's a good looking town.
I mean, it was just so gorgeous to me. But there's nothing that says, high bridge, hike here, whatever. So I'm driving a little bit and then I kind of get on the outskirts and I see an overpass bridge that has the name on it, but it's over the street. And I thought, well, that can't be it, but it's got the sign on it. So I went down that road and went under the bridge. I could not see a turnoff to save my life. So finally I said, it's well hidden. So I said, Kelsey, I give up. And then she showed me, so you're driving straight and you got a dog leg back into the parking lot. And I thought, man, I would have never seen that. So we get up there and then we hike to the bridge. The first thing that struck out to me was I was not expecting homes to be there. I don't know why, but I thought this was just out in the middle of nothing by itself. And you're passing house after house after home after home after barn after shed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there was help so quick if they had just known, And then when you turn that little corner and you see the bridge, it almost looks like it's floating. It was much longer in person, much longer, and a whole lot higher. So there was snow when we got there, and I would say probably a good foot of snow. And my sister Charlene is going right out on that bridge. And I'm like, good luck to you. I'll tell your kids what happened, because there ain't no way.
I made it about 10 feet before I turned around. Yeah.
Woo,
it is terrifying for those who don't know.
Terrifying. And then when I went back the second time, there was no snow, and it was even more terrifying because then you could see just how rickety. Some of the boards were rotten, some were missing. And even to step onto the bridge, it's a good foot of nothing. And there's no rails. And that's the other thing, that when I watched the video for the first time, before I even got to the bridge, to me now, it looks like bridge guy, if you look at his waist and his hips, that he's turning back in. He's not walking straight. He's not in the middle. And he's got his hands in his pockets. So really look at him. It looks like he's coming back into the middle of the bridge, which tells me he was turning around. So you have a child about the same age, Susan. What would it take for her to video somebody? Somebody's already creeped her out. Somebody's already scared her. Somebody's already said something twisted kind of to her, flirted, and they're 60, and it just, unnerved her. She didn't videotape them. So what would it take for Libby to videotape this person?
It's that gut instinct, and I believe she had the wherewithal, as it was stated at one of the pressers, to hit record. And as you know, Libby was so smart, so intelligent. Watched the crime shows. Maybe she thought something is odd here. And Mike said to me, Susan, I think she was going to come back and say, Grandpa, look at how creepy this guy was on the bridge. Sadly, that never occurred. But she knew, and I believe Abby did too, that something was off.
I do too. And here's what I think happened. I think he engaged them and walked past them and either said something or showed them something. Because when you look at him and he's coming back into the middle of that bridge, that's when she knew, and that's when she started videotaping, when he turned around.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think, my theory of this has always been the crime was planned, but the victims were not. There's information out there that causes me to doubt some of that now, to some extent, but I still think in general that may be what happened. So yeah, at the very last episode that we did in our first season of the Down the Hill podcast, we sort of laid out almost that same exact scenario. You know, he was out there, he's ready, he saw these girls, he walked past them. Maybe he didn't even say anything to them. Maybe he just gave them a vibe, gave them a strange look, and then he turned right around, you know, and they were already creeped out by the time he passed. But I do think you're right. I do think there was an initial interaction that caused.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Most even grown women will tell you, oh, this guy at the grocery store kind of brushed up against me. It was weird. I thought it was an accident, but now I don't know. They're not videotaped. You're almost too afraid to pull out a camera and videotape them because you don't want to set somebody off. But this child did it. And then listen to his voice. And I think that's critical for people. He's calm, y'all. He's not enraged. He's not out of control. He says, guys, down the hill. Because it's already pre-planned. It's already picked out. He knows where he's taking them.
So that weapon, would you say, Cheryl, the bridge, was the weapon? Was the way to trap them?
It was an extraordinarily good weapon because
perfect trap.
They couldn't jump. And once he turned around, he was blocking the way that they would go to meet their family. They had no choice but to go the other way down the hill up toward where the cemetery is.
And on the tape, you know, the authorities say that someone yelled the word gun, either Abby or Libby. So yeah, you can paint the picture pretty clearly in your head. You know, they were cornered, they were trapped. It was almost a perfect trap.
And I think that's what he showed them.
Yeah.
I think he showed them the gun, walked past them. They freaked out, but didn't want to run that way because it led to nothing. And then when he turned around, Libby knew.
Cheryl, if you could describe to our listeners and viewers the tactics used to go into a crime scene or assess a case that has not been solved. It's the first 48, first 72, and the last 24, if you could describe that. I remember Superintendent Doug Carter always saying, look, if nothing comes of this, we're going to go back to the beginning and assess.
Absolutely. Whenever you have a child abduction, the first 3 hours are critical. 80-something% of the time, if they're going to be killed, it's going to be in that first 3 hours, period. So there's no time you can waste. For me, once a case goes cold, I developed a system for myself called the last 24. And what I take is the last 24 hours that we know of. And then I try to pinpoint almost exactly the moment that they cross paths with that killer. Because then that tells me, and in this case, the bridge. Why the bridge? Why that day? Why that time of day? You're talking about somebody that does not look young to me, doesn't look necessarily like they're a hiker to me, but he is on this bridge in the middle of the day alone, doesn't have a camera that I can see, doesn't have children with him, and it doesn't appear that he would be the type of person that would be on this bridge, if that makes sense. So I'm looking at him. He looks like he's maybe a blue collar worker. He looks, maybe he's a farmer. Maybe he works with his hands, is how he's dressed. And you know, from being in that town, that's how tons of men look.
Yeah.
That exact same jacket, pants, boots, everything. But if you're not from there and you're just looking at him, that's what you're trying to put in your mind, right? What man is going to be there in the middle of the day? Well, he's not a farmer. He doesn't work with his hands. He doesn't work with animals, right? It's odd he would be there. It's like if a man is alone at a zoo. Please don't send me hate mail. I'm just telling you it's unusual. I'm not saying they can't go. I'm saying you look at them differently if they're somewhere where there are children.
Excellent point. This summer, I'm from New Jersey. I was at the boardwalk we go to in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, and my son was on a ride with my husband, and I'm looking around, and I'm much more aware of my surrounding, let's say in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years. A man had a backpack on. I looked for children. There were no kids with him. My heart started to race. And I said to Joe, I waved him. He came off of the ride and I said, I don't see any kids. He's walking around. What's with the backpack? And then he met his wife and children. And I thought, okay, am I going too far with this? Can I go too far with this? I think I may have, but being aware of your surroundings, and you taught me so much, Cheryl, that it's key to be aware of what's going on around you.
You cannot go too far when you are what is between your child and danger. You just can't. You don't say, yeah, y'all go play in the ocean and then turn your lounge chair facing the other way. I mean, there's no way you would do that. There's no way. If you're going to see somebody and you think he doesn't really fit, then you need to make sure, what is this person about? Everybody else out there was either in regular clothes or athletic clothes. They had cameras. They were clearly out for a hike. The girls were doing that. Abby didn't even have a jacket on. I mean, she just had like almost a summer shirt, right?
And now that my daughter's 14, she never wants to wear a jacket. I completely
Never.
get it that
Absolutely.
they never do.
Especially if they have a cute top and they're taking pictures. I mean, are you kidding? They don't want to cover that up. But look at him. He's layered. He's got a shirt on. He's got like a hoodie on and then a coat. Okay. So to me, two things stood out. Yes, he's hiding maybe the gun, the knife, flex cuffs, whatever he may have. But also, just in case somebody were to fight him, he would not get scratched. He would not get bruised.
And also, depending on what this person's plan or fantasy was, he could have had the outfit that he planned to do the deed on under it. So when he put it back on, there wouldn't be whatever on him, mud, blood. If it's this type of killer, like they seem to be saying, people are very careful. They plan this long time, right? And
Dan, I tell people all the time, there's no such thing as a part-time pedophile.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a part-time serial killer. It's all they do. So let's just say it is Richard Allen. Can you imagine when the family came in to make the photographs? I bet he kept a set. I bet when other girls came in from softball or swimming or their prom, I bet he kept a set.
I was reading the Roy Hazelwood book, Dark Dreams, former BAU profiler.
Yeah.
And he did a study of sadists and sexual sadists. And one thing that jumped out to me that I thought was a wow, and this doesn't point to Richard Allen or Ron Logan or any other particular name that's out there. They surveyed, I think it was 50, it could have been 30, but that sort of sample size of convicted sadists and sexual sadists, right?
Mhm.
Of that number, less than 50% had prior arrest records, right? All those guys, the behavior traits of those people are they're very
Mhm.
careful. Serial
Of
killers,
course.
organized serial killers plan,
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
wait for the right time, and they can wait for years for the right conditions to happen.
Mhm. But think about it. From the time they first realize what their fetish is, they're
Mhm.
hiding it.
Yeah.
They're hiding it. They can't tell anybody. They can't tell anybody in their classroom. They can't tell anybody in their neighborhood. They can't tell anybody at church. They can't tell anybody in their family. So they get really good at hiding all of this, the killing the animals, the burning, whatever arson they're doing, whatever the sexual preference is, they're hiding probably more than half of their life. So they spend all this time, being a predator, driving around,
Million.
hunting, looking.
That's a good point. It's all that they think it's
That's it.
consuming.
That's
It's
it.
not a part-time thing. And one thing, several things that stand out with Cheryl to me is not only are you skilled in cold cases and crime scenes and able to assess and see things that we can't, you also have this innate ability to connect with the victims. And I saw that so many times, but I also saw that with a Ted Bundy survivor, if you can talk about that.
Kathy?
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there, you guys. Make sure you go out and watch the whole thing because it really, really is interesting. Cheryl McCullum is a really amazing person, and she's got a lot of great insights. And like I said, she's an expert in her field. She's got 45 years experience, and she has been looking at the Delphi case since day one. So, I like listening to what she has to say, and I think she hits a lot out of, hits the nail on the head, so to speak, with a lot of the descriptions of being organized, planning. I think Sleuth's right. You said it earlier, he's been thinking about this for a long time. Something clicked, something happened that made him say, I can do this today.
I think so. I think he was thinking about it We know that he frequented those trails, so, I mean, maybe the crime scene was one of his favorite places.
Yeah.
There's a trail if you go to the north end of the bridge, before you cross the bridge, if you say, "You know what? I'm gonna follow the creek, and I'm gonna take a left, into Ron Logan's property," there's a trail that goes right to the crime scene.
Yeah, and I agree with Miranda here to a point because I hear it all the time, and that's because people wanna know. It's human nature to wanna know why people do these horrible crimes, these horrific things. We don't understand how they can do this to another human being, let alone children. Um, we may never know his motive, but the fact if it finally comes out that he is a sexual sadist in some way or a visual predator of some sort, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, and that shed, what about what's going on in that shed of his?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Maybe the
Yeah.
son-in-law saw something in that shed that just wasn't quite right.
Deb says, before we knew who Bridge Guy was, I used to say, I wonder if the crime scene has a special significance to the killer. See, we don't know that either. We don't know if, why did he use a bridge as a layer, as his web? Because the bridge was key. It was his weapon.
He understood it. And what is to understand something? You're under the foundation. He had that view of the whole crime scene from below. He understood it literally, and he fantasized about it, and he knew how easy it would be. And if you saw the reporters that went back there to the crime scene and they were looking through the trees at the Monon High Bridge, I think Richard Allen would do the very same thing. He would watch people walk across there through the trees thinking about it.
Yeah. Miranda wants to know what's the shed story.
Well, he just has this shed, there was a rumor early on that he may have borrowed um, some tools or something from a neighbor
Mhm.
and reported it stolen, and when they came to search the shed, they may have found something. There's rumors about that too.
Yep.
And they were digging next to the shed as well, so.
And you never know. I mean, these types of criminals, I believe they have their special place where they go to partake in their disgusting fantasy life. Maybe
Yeah, he
his
could have
was
been on
his
drugs too.
exactly, and maybe the shed was a place where he kept some of that stuff, It's not unusual. They have hiding places of memorabilia that they keep from crimes that they've committed. Is this the first time he's ever done anything? I doubt it.
Yeah,
I'm
if he's guilty, I
sure.
doubt it.
I mean, if this guy turns out to be guilty, I firmly believe that he has other crimes in his past that we don't know about. It's very unusual for someone to just up in the middle of their middle life, like, 45 years of age, to just go out and one day decide to kill 2 children.
Let alone their 70s.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, let
yeah.
alone their 70s. Yeah, that just doesn't happen. Ron Logan didn't just do that one day. But yeah, I agree. And the CPS building, I just want you to touch on that for a second because this is a rumor that drives me crazy when I hear it, and it's all over out there right now, is that he didn't park at the CPS building. He parked at the Farm Bureau building in town. There is an old Farm Bureau building in Delphi. It's in town, guys. Why would he do that? And why
He's
would
very smart. He's very intelligent. He's telling like a half truth, and he's also playing
Mhm.
dumb. He's playing dumb at the same time, right? I've never been to the CPS building. Why would I know what to call it?
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like, that he didn't park at the farm building in town and walk the 3 miles or whatever it is to the bridge. He didn't do that. I just know better.
He just misidentified it or did that on purpose,
Or
He
did it on
seems
purpose.
I think he's just a little bit smarter than we're giving him credit for.
Oh, I think he is
Obviously, right?
too. Yeah, I definitely think he is as well. And what's scary, spooky about that is his ability to continue to work every single day at the CVS with his mugshot right next to him.
I
I
think he
mean,
convinced himself that he didn't do it. I think there was a point in time where he was lying to everybody and he convinced his family of all these lies. And I think he became the lie. And he still is the lie right now. Like this Odinism stuff is giving him something to cling on to. He's like, because he's fantasy driven, right? This is a whole new fantasy.
mhm.
Like, I really didn't do it. It really was, these Odinists. That gives him just enough to where he can live in fantasy land. But once that goes away, the truth will come out.
Well, him eating his discovery when it was being shown to him by his attorneys tells me two things. He was either remorseful and hating what he did, and that's why he dropped all the weight, which I think is because he wasn't drinking anymore. And I think that that was probably why he went into a spiral when he was, incarcerated. I think it would have happened no matter if he was in county jail or prison. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think the fact that he was fine, the jig was up, as they say. He was finally caught, and he looked to me like that first time I saw him after he dropped all that weight was a defeated man. He just looked defeated to me. Like, oh my God, for the first time, he wasn't in control, and he definitely wasn't in control of this narrative. And he's probably scared
I think he's very
because,
scared. But his
you know,
defense is giving him power.
right.
A little bit. Even if it's in Fantasyland, he has a little bit of power back.
Yeah. And, it's justice is coming. I mean, Libby and Abby deserve justice. They've waited a long time for justice in this case. The families are hurting. And I've said it so many times every day. They have that missing piece out of their lives. They will never get that back. And they're constantly reminded, we get to turn this off and
I was
go
just going to say that.
do our thing. You and I get to turn this off and
Go back
be
to my
with our
family.
go back with our families, go to the gym, work out, get some of the, the ick off of us from being in the community, I like to say.
Yep.
And but they can't do that. They never get to do that. And it's so difficult. And when I lost my own son, obviously I wasn't to murder, and I lost him to cancer, and he was only 4. But I've said it and I'll say it again. Nothing prepares you for that loss of your child. And when they're gone, part of you is gone. And Anna and Becky and Mike and Carrie and Derek and Kelsey will never, ever be the same again. This has forever changed their lives, and they deserve to know who did this and to know that they can never do this to another family, that they can never hurt another child as long as, ever.
And I don't mind the pushback from the other side, all these Richard Allen supporters and these people chasing the Ron Logan, and Richard Allen having this great defense team, right? Everybody praising them, because I don't want any excuses when he goes away for life. I don't want to hear, well, he didn't get the right representation or this, and that. So I'm glad they're cheering on all of this, because I'm taking mental photographs of this moment in time so that I can remind them, remember that time you guys were supporting this person, knowing that he possibly could have been a child killer. And now that you know the truth, but they'll be gone, because that's what they plan to do. They never wanted Richard Allen to get arrested. They wanted this mystery to go on forever so that they could play with it and play with the facts and create the storylines and manipulate it as time goes on. And then right in the middle of their fantasy, because they're pretty much predators in their own light, boom, Richard Allen came to spoil the party.
God, I love how you just described that, because it's exactly the way I feel that they are. They're predators in their own right. because of what they do to these families. And people are like, well, they don't have to watch it. And I'm just like, you can't get away from social media. You're trying to follow your daughter's case. This stuff is everywhere. And now we have podcasters being brought in by the defense and YouTubers being brought in by the defense that are completely off the rails. So yeah, it's hard for the families to get away from
And
it.
people come up to the family and say, "Hey, did you see that horrible video?"
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they're like, "Oh
And
God."
I've always said this to everyone who supports me and is in my channel. The families are here. They watch.
They do.
They are watching our YouTube channels. They don't comment. They don't come in here and say things, but they're watching everything. And more power to them. But that's why I always try to be as respectful to them and to their feelings as I possibly can. Yeah. And I know you are too.
Yep, 100%.
So, well, my friend, it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah,
anything you would like to wrap up and say?
No, I'm out of time. I got to go eat my cold food. But I had a great time. No, I put time aside for this, so it was
good.
The time was there.
I'm glad.
I want to thank you for inviting me on.
You're so welcome.
Let's do this again. Let's make it a regular thing. I'd be happy to join anytime.
I love it. I'm really happy about it. And I want to tell you, go get some chickens.
Seriously, I'm about to get some chickens. You
need to get some chickens. They're wonderful. You'll love it. You'll have fresh eggs all the time.
I don't know if we'll have eggs because we have 2 pit bulls.
Oh, good Lord.
I don't know how long the chickens would last.
That might be tough.
Yeah, one time we had a bird fly in the house, and this is an awful story. I hate to tell it, but I was able to catch it. And the second I caught it, it jumped out of my hand onto the ground. And one of our dogs just scooped it right up.
Oh, Lord.
I bet
horrible. That was not all. I bet that was awful.
Yeah, it was right in front of my young daughter.
Oh,
So
how sad.
So that's what's keeping us from really getting chickens is these wild dogs we got.
I hear you. That would do it.
Poor
No,
chickens.
Thank you so much for being here and great conversation. Thank you for sharing your videos with us and your pictures because again, I'm just fascinated by the work that you've done with the Bridge Guy photos. So
I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. But thank you. So yeah, guys, we're gonna sign off and say goodnight to everybody.
Take care, everybody.
And, take care of yourselves. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you all. And everybody be safe out there, please, and be kind to one another. Good night, everyone.
Good night.